about to go live. It's loading up now. This is the BBC television service. We're live.
Oh, we picked the wrong time to go live because my Super Nintendo emulator is not seeing the controller, or it's crashed.
Cool. Hi everyone. Have you definitely highlighted? Is it currently the highlighted app? Because I keep forgetting to do that when I'm trying to do SNES stuff.
Oh, this is weird. Oh, this is very weird. Right. So here's a fun. Well, good morning and or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. I'm having fun technical issues with the Super Nintendo emulator. It is definitely emulating, but it's not registering.
Right, so we might find that we end up having to switch the stream off again and then come on again later on, but we'll see what happens.
No, I'm just going to restart the Super Nintendo emulator, and I'm going to cover up your entire face while doing so.
Okay.
Here we are. No, we're good. It's fine. Right now, people are just looking at a black screen, a blank screen. I assume you're probably looking at much the same thing. How are you doing? How are things over there this afternoon?
Well, things are a lot of fun over here this afternoon. Yeah, there's politics going on, you know. Politics going on in
politics.
Yes, I know. Well, in this particular case, it's going on during the virus times. What I'm going to do is while you're doing that and we're chatting, I'm going to tell the people in my Discord about this.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And they can come and see us flailing around and trying to get it to work. So I'm going at everyone. Live now. Serial ports. We're playing Batman, the animated series. And
yeah, it's working now. Brilliant. Just gonna check the options. Now this is a sidey scrolly beat 'em up, which I'm historically very bad at these. So
right.
So
like
really,
like a Streets of Rage, one of them.
Yeah, it's kind of, but there's no field of depth.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and I remember seeing.
So it's not like Trapdoor then.
No, it's no. The Adventures of Batman and Robin does not reach the technical sophistication of Trapdoor on the ZX Spectrum. I'm gonna get judged for this. I'm gonna put it on easy.
Oh, do it. I mean, who wants to see a lot of falling over and dying and flailing about? Well, probably some people do.
Me.
Yeah. Flailing about and dying, man, are you? That's what you mainly like to watch.
It's my go-to. So this is a Warner Brothers job. This is a Konami game, very similar to how we did Buster Bust Loose a number of weeks ago. It's kind of in that same ballpark, same dev team. Konami games always had a very specific kind of feel on the Super Nintendo. One of my favorite Konami games actually was not a Warner Brothers game. It was a Disney game. It was Goof Troop, which is basically like a multiplayer Legend of Zelda game, which I very much liked. If we can ever figure out the net play thing with Super Nintendo games, that's one we should be playing together.
Sure, yeah.
The Joker
just writing the tweet.
Yeah.
I am absolutely live right now with Ben Paddon playing the games they made when we were kids to tie in with the TV we were watching. Batman, the animated series, is that the correct title of the game?
It is The Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin?
I thought it was The New Adventures of Batman and Robin, and so I had trouble finding it in my Super Nintendo game collection. But it was just filed as Adventures of Batman and Robin, the.
Huh.
And that's the kind of amazing factoid that you can learn by watching serial ports.
That's absolutely amazing. You should watch serial ports.
Yes. Hopefully you are if you can hear this, because that's us. Hello.
Hello.
I do like the animation on the on the character models. Of the character models on the little boxes where the heads are. Avatars? I don't know. I'm very tired.
I'm a bit tired as well, but presumably you're a bit more tired because you will have just sort of got up quite recently in your end of the world.
My alarm went off at 8 o'clock and I definitely hit snooze for 30 minutes, and then I had to deal with this technical issue.
Yeah, it does happen. What is the technical issue worth mentioning? Because I don't really know what it is yet.
It was just an issue with using my... I use my Surface as a second screen for the stream, so I can see OBS while we're streaming, and so you can also see the whole screen that we're streaming rather than looking at my monitor, which means having to look at your own face. Very big. And... Oh, Batman's dead now. Batman has been shot. This is actually quite a good game. I had not played this. I think I like dipped into this ROM before, but it's one of those games that I always thought, wow, this looks really cool, because I remember seeing them cover it on, God, was it one of those like 90s like CITV Bad Influence.
Bad Influence.
Yeah, I was thinking it might have been Bad Influence.
Yeah. Well, because don't forget that Andy Crane, also the presenter of the What's Up Doc, where Batman the Animated Series was being shown.
So I remember, I remember seeing like footage of this game and thinking, wow, that looks just like the cartoon, and wishing I could play it, and then I never got to play it.
Oh, it does look just like the cartoon. I'm very impressed.
They've done a very good job. This is quite pleasant to look at. Welcome to the Joker's... Yeah. Oh, now I've got to chase Harley Quinn. Chase me, Batman, she says, probably in my mind.
Easy to forget if you're not like a big Batman fan that Harley Quinn existed back then. I know that she was from the animated series originally. But for some reason, what with her being so revived recently, there's a certain amount of disconnect that makes me forget that fact. So, what's going on in the UK today, Ben? It's very exciting. Yes. I'm sure you may have seen a little sniff of it, but basically yesterday, or it could have been the day before yesterday, a couple of news people, reporters of some description, broke the news that a chap called Dominic Cummings, who those of us who've been following the big old nonsense parade that has been Brexit know who he is. He's sort of an odd sort of... He's almost the... What's the fella's name? Roger Stone? The guy who's kind of behind a lot of American politics? He's is it someone Stone? Anyway, well, Dominic Cummings is sort of a bit like that for the British Conservative Party right now. And he's just always there, lingering in the background, sort of... unelected but in charge. And he is. As I understand it, he's not even any kind of MP. He's not an elected representative, but he is sort of in charge of everything the Tories do. Or at least that has been the, I don't know to what extent it's been a half joking or entirely sincere claim, but it seems to be shaking out to be quite true because, so... When we went into lockdown, of course, there were all these rules, but there was always a lot of criticism aimed at Boris Johnson, including from myself.
Yeah. Well, he's very critiquable, you see.
He's eminently critiquable. Yes. And in this particular case, I found him very critiquable because of the vagueness of the instructions that he gave out. You see, initially when the old virus came in knocking into town, Dominic Cummings had this idea of creating herd immunity for the United Kingdom. And what that meant was that they just let us all have it. Just everybody gets the virus, just let them die. And then the remaining people who are still alive at the end of it will be immune because, in his imagination, he was hoping it was one of those viruses where once you've got it, you're immune. Yeah. And so he was hoping that that's what would happen. And everybody responded with, oh, that's probably the most evil thing we've heard in a very long time. Yes. And so they had to suddenly change their minds, and that was the official government policy. You can see them saying it, but then they changed their minds and they went, "Oh, we didn't mean that. We didn't mean herd immunity. What we meant is we're going to go into lockdown." Okay, so into lockdown we went, but it was quite a vague lockdown. It was never like, here's what you're now doing, and we're doing this, we're doing it for this amount of time. This is, and of course, they can't fully predict that. Yeah. This is now the law, or whatever. It was a very kind of, well, if you fancy it, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that. And on the one hand, for my own benefit, I kind of appreciate that in a way, because it makes it feel less police statey, and it makes it feel less scary, even though what I was obviously going to do as someone on an immunosuppressant tablet is... I was going to fully lock down, and there's a certain amount of anxiety involved in that. Yeah. But for the greater good of the sort of survival of the most people, it would have been better for them to be a lot stronger about it, because then people would actually perhaps have done it. And instead, we've had this ongoing thing where, and I'm fairly sure you have this in America as we have here, a press that is quite interested in keeping everybody cross with the general idea of the public. Because they're all doing it wrong, but I'm doing it right, that sort of thing. And it goes on online very much. Every few days, you'll see a new photo of people at some form of party. And something that, by the way, anyone who's watching this who's affected by the sort of anti-people propaganda of the press, it's worth bearing in mind. This is something that I keep in mind. That when you have a day like that, today there's footage of some sort of pool party somewhere. No actual evidence that it was taken recently, this footage. I haven't seen any citation as to, where or when it was taken. But the suggestion is that it's people flaunting the rules at a pool party today somewhere in the UK. Or maybe it's a US one, I'm not sure. But you see, again, it's so vague, I don't know. A couple of days ago, there was one in the UK, which is like, look at this beach. There's all people at the beach. And then they would interview people, and they're like, well, it's the hottest day of the year. Of course, we're going to go to the beach and things like this. And sure enough, the people on that beach not doing sufficient social distancing. But what is always worth remembering is that any day when we're all getting cross about one particular photograph or piece of film footage of people not social distancing.
Yep. Sorry, that's me being bad at the game. Let's continue.
That's all right.
You got used to it by now, surely.
That means that so few people are actually acting badly and breaking the rules that they've had to concentrate on a single photograph or video of a single place on a single day. Really, given the size, I know that the United Kingdom is not physically all that big, but when you're standing in it, it is. And given the size of it,
that's true.
And the amount, you know what I mean? Given the amount of thousands of people we have here, anytime we're focusing on one piece of footage of a few hundred people, that's really not actually very many. And the takeaway from that should be, oh, wow, everyone else is doing brilliantly. Otherwise, we'd be dunking on them right now. So that's something worth keeping in mind. There really are more people behaving than who aren't. One of the people who isn't is Dominic Cummings.
Yes.
Because it turned out that it emerged that he had taken a trip. It's like a 6-hour car journey that he'd taken to go and visit his parents. And I don't know where Durham is. I simply don't know where it is, so I can't confirm.
I think it's upwards somewhere, if I had to guess.
Yes, yeah, me too. Simply based on the fact that London, where he's supposed to be, is down.
Yeah.
But I can't confirm that Durham is a 6-hour journey away from London. I've just heard that that's how long the journey was. But looking at a map, oh yes, it's up near Newcastle.
Oh wow, yeah.
So yes, that makes absolute sense. That's a very, very long journey indeed. No wonder everybody is quite up in arms about it. So he took this journey to go and visit his parents. And we know that he got... Wait, do we, or am I getting mixed up? But I think we know that he did get coronavirus. And it was around the time he took this journey. So It's like this guy who's a senior government advisor, very, very much a key person in the Tory party story right now, was absolutely breaking the rules and just going on a little holiday to see his parents. Now,
and as I recall, he was one of the people who helped draw up those guidelines as well, right?
Yes, they're his guidelines, yes. So it's always we all know the breaking news here isn't that we're not all in it together. We all know that the Tories are going to do different things from us, and even to some extent we sort of accept that because it probably is easier to run a country not in lockdown. Like we do get to an extent that there's going to be a difference between the way the key figures in the government behave and the way we do during this. It's just that there's something so flagrant about how it was, how he just went on a big long car journey. So, some sort of an explanation was issued by Number 10, and their explanation was along the lines of, well, look, his wife had, is it wife? Well, anyway, the mother of his children had started to exhibit symptoms of what they thought might turn out to be coronavirus. I don't know what that means. Maybe she had a cough or fever. I don't know what. Maybe she just had a cold. But they decided, okay, she's probably got coronavirus. Oh no, they got really worried about that, and like any parent would, goes the number 10 story. They maybe you can say panicked, but they made a decision in the heat of that moment for what is best for their children. What they decided was best for their children was for them to suddenly be very near to Dominic Cummings' parents, who would then, I think it's his parents, who would then be able to look after the children in the event that both parents went down with coronavirus. Now, written out like that, it's the sort of story that people can understand and get behind. Like, oh, okay, yeah, if we were worried about lockdown, everyone around here is worried about their kids. The problem is, first of all, it just highlights how out of touch the Tories are, because most, I'm almost tempted to say most of the people reading that story, because a lot of people are parents these days. Let's not say most, though. That's probably an exaggeration.
There are quite a lot of parents. I think parenthood is something.
A load of the people, a huge amount of the people reading that explanation are going, yeah, but I've got the same worries, and I have followed the rules.
Yeah.
I haven't gone to, live with my parents and spread the virus to them and all of it, and spend 6 hours in a car hotboxing my children in the virus cloud we've established at least one of us has, and with retrospect we now know probably both of us had. So as soon as you read it as a normal human rather than a very rich Tory who can move between houses in the countryside and so on, you immediately see the problem with the story. Now, the explanation went further to say that it wasn't that he went to stay with his parents. They have another house near to, but not actually connected to the parents' house, and that's to be expected. I imagine senior members of the government probably do have their parents in large houses with outbuildings and things. That's not itself shocking. The problem is that this guy, who the whole point of the journey was that there was suspected coronavirus in the family, this guy decided that against the rules, which is that's when you lock down, he was going to drive 6 hours to Durham, and presumably his idea was not to infect his parents, but it makes him a vector of disease. It spreads London coronavirus up north, and that's a problem. So that news is what dropped. And for the rest of that day, the Tories went about their excuse making and their dumping down. And there was even this sense of them sort of, edging towards changing the rules to allow for, to retroactively make what he did legal.
Sure.
But none of that really mattered, because the two reporters who'd actually broken the story, it turned out, were holding back on the second part of the story, which they then dropped yesterday evening, I want to say, which was that not only do we know that he went on this trip to Durham, but he was then spotted back in London after it, and then spotted back in Durham after that. Do I mean Durham?
Yes.
I think it was Durham, at a nearby tourist hotspot, just seeing the sights, having a nice day out in a touristy place where they have things like castles, and I'm seeing a lot of mention of bluebells today. I don't know if those are metaphorical bluebells or if we.
The bluebells is when the press approached him. He was saying, "Aren't the bluebells lovely?" He was just trying. I think he was deflecting. I don't know if that's actually what happened, but that was the impression I got from having read some of the reports late last night.
So there's been what's happened here is that there has been an undeniable breaking of the laws surrounding, and I think they are laws, but even if they weren't, the sensible guidelines as to what to do during the coronavirus. But that isn't the end of the story, and that's not kind of where we're up to right now. But yes, he broke the rules, decided we've got coronavirus, so instead of locking down as per the rules, he went to stay with his parents, probably spreading it to them, and now we know went round tourist areas, probably just spreading it to as many people as possible.
That's nice of him.
Yeah.
We're always encouraged in school to share, and it's nice that he's taken that to heart.
There is something I ought to mention here, which is that the other tourists shouldn't have been there either. That does stand, and I don't know whether. I think the reason we're talking about touristy area is not so much because of all the people who would have been there getting infected, more the fact that it just sort of gives you an idea of why he was there. It's just nice. Yeah. It's a nice place to go out and look at. So he may well have been distancing while there. I don't know. It just creates this them and us divide, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the latest is that Boris, our Prime Minister, has gone on TV in the last few minutes basically to double down on how cool he thinks Dominic Cummings is and how everything he did was fine. And he's gone as far as to say it was legal. And this is a big problem because it means that it's legal now. Yesterday, there was a lot of talk from the Tories who were defending Dominic. And I don't know why they were defending him. All they had to do was say, yeah, what a wally. Like, they wouldn't have had to prosecute him. Like, we know they're not going to do that. We know that that's not something that's available. So, like, if they'd have just said, yeah, that was a stupid thing to do, I feel like they could have killed the story a bit more quickly instead of saying, like, no, it's a really cool thing to do. And yesterday, this raised questions like, wait a minute. While they were all saying, oh, any father concerned about his children, more than one of them said that, would have made a similar decision. And that raised question marks like, hang on a minute, are you saying that these particular, and by extension, any given lockdown guidelines and laws can and should be broken if you are concerned for your children, if you have what you can justify as a reason to break the rules?
What if I have a cat and I'm worried that my cat is going to be unhealthy or unhappy? Just like, what if I'm worried I have a sad cat? Dave, can I then go on a cross-country drive up to, say, Edinburgh?
Yeah, because they have vets in Edinburgh. That's the thing. This trip was taken ostensibly so that he could get childcare for his children, a thing which is massively available in his local area, both from actual like childcare professionals, which are currently allowed to work there, and from the mother's parents who live there. It's really weird that they went to Durham. There's a lot of talk about a panicked drive. They made a split-second decision, scared for their children. It's like, what, to go on a 6-hour car journey? Like,
yeah, you'd think at some point during the 6 hours they might go, hang on, this is starting now to seem like we've made, I'm going to say, a bad decision. And let's turn around.
As somebody pointed out, what 6-hour journey up the motorway goes without one stop off at least at the service station, where you are definitely going around infecting the people who are working there, and anyone else who happen to be, anyone else who, however many hours after you use the loo, have to walk through your corona cloud that lingers in closed spaces. So anyway, there's another aspect of it. Yes, what if you had an idea? If you had a problem like, my cat looks ill, I want to take this cat to a vet, or I don't know, like my friend is ill, I want to go around and visit them. All things that are reasonable to feel and to want to break the rules because of. Just to give, I'm going to sound a little bit cross when I say this, but I don't mean to. I want this to be a light-hearted stream, but just from my own experience, the things that I would have rather do that come under that category of the sort of thing that sound like excuses to break the rules, but which I, being a good citizen and concerned for my health as well as other people's, but concerned for other people too, decided not to break the rules around. Number one, I called off a trip to meet our new goddaughter just after she was born, which was before lockdown, but like a couple of what turned out to be like a week or two before lockdown. So, it felt like it was the right decision, but at the time it felt like a very selfish thing to do. But I did it. I made that decision. Didn't meet my new goddaughter. I'm in the process of missing the first several months of that baby's life now. But that I use that just as a lead-in. I probably mentioned it on the previous stream, but my grandmother died during this. And we had not much advance warning, but enough that I could have gone and visited. And I didn't, and I haven't seen, and I didn't go to the funeral either because of the lockdown. Now, these are representative of the sorts of sacrifices people have been making because we have these rules. And to see that this guy, who is just a massive piece of work, gets to just break the rules because he's a big Tory and they like him, is, I don't know, it rankles a lot of people out there, is what I'm saying. And so Boris has just gone on the TV, not only to say that what he did was justified, because he said something along the lines of what he acted according to the instincts of a father,
right?
Which is a shame.
Some spectacular nonsense gibberish.
Well, sort of. I mean, I actually do have a certain amount of sympathy for that, because if you take away the fact that what he was doing clearly wasn't that, it was a 6-hour journey and all of that. If he had panicked and done a little breaking of the law to secure some sort of local child minding facility that others wouldn't have access to, I actually would understand, without necessarily condoning, why he did that. But what he did doesn't fit that. But let's put that aside. Let's imagine that we can go, actually, any father would have done the same, right? The thing is, the rest of us haven't done those things.
Yeah.
And we've wanted to and had reasons to do them. So it's a day where him saying, he acted on instinct, it just makes you go, yeah, but instinct is what we're all having to guard against right now.
Yes.
Our instincts are contrary. Our instincts spread the virus, and we are having to work and sacrifice things we want to do in order to avoid that. So that's not the worrying thing. The worrying thing is that Boris said that what he did was perfectly legal. Don't know if he used the word perfectly, but he did use the word legal.
So,
which now sets a weird precedent.
Yeah.
Because even if it doesn't stand up in a court, I'm sure if normal people now decide, because I've got children or whatever other excuse I can come up with, I can break the rules. That probably won't stand up in court just because Boris said it was legal and Dominic Cummings gets to do it, and that'll be an example of hypocrisy. But we've come to expect that.
Yeah.
The problem is that whether or not it eventually holds up in court, or however these things are prosecuted or not, doesn't matter once the damage is done. What we now have is effectively an end to the lockdown.
Yeah. Because
the Prime Minister has said, forget it, it's fine. If you have instincts that tell you not to bother, I'll support that.
Yeah.
And there are people in this country who think that Boris is on their side and kind of, will have their back the way he has his friend Dominic Cummings' back, and they're going to go and do these things.
But Boris said it was okay, yeah.
And they wouldn't be wrong to do it. This is the thing. I'm not calling those people stupid, and I'm not calling those people I'm even not going to call them irresponsible, because we get our information, me and you, off things like Twitter, where, we can find sources for things that the World Health Organization have said and things like that.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people out there who really are only watching the evening news and reading the paper and finding out what Boris has said. He's their one authority that they listen to. And if he said it's fine, they will believe it's fine. And they'll be reasonable to believe that.
Yeah, you can't blame them for that, because that's the information that they have.
Mm-hmm. So we're in a quite unique situation, which is that I don't even think Trump has done that.
I mean, he said some dumb things, but I don't think he's been quite this stupid yet.
I've heard that he is alleged to have said some stupid things. But that's one of the things I've heard on the grapevine.
He's on Vine as well. That's impressive.
Yeah.
I thought they'd shut that down.
Yeah. No. Well, it's one rule for them. But Dominic Cummings, having done this,
every time we say Dominic Cummings, I know what he looks like, so I saw him last night with his bald head and his orange t-shirt, but every time I hear Dominic Cummings, I just think of the guy from Lord of the Rings who played a hobbit. Was he a hobbit? I think he was a hobbit. Yeah.
Yes. Dominic... someone else.
He was in Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Disappointment. He was in that as well.
Was he?
Yeah.
I
might be thinking about the wrong one. I know one of them was.
No, you're right. Now you reminded me. Yes, I have seen him in that film. I haven't... He was just a background character. I don't know if he does anything in the film later, because I only got a few minutes in before I went, why am I... There's no need to do this. Yeah. Because I watched it on Disney Plus, and there's, I've got better things to do with my time. I was about to say something, I now can't remember what it was. It was when I said I don't think even Trump has done this.
Yeah, we're talking about how, basically calling for an end to the lockdown, saying that leaving is perfectly fine and legal now, and you should all do it, and all your friends would be really cool to go out and start licking lampposts, that kind of thing.
That's kind of what he now doesn't really have. Either he's lost authority to say, we have to isolate, we have to quarantine, all that sort of thing. I don't know if that's going to pan out to be the case, but he certainly isn't currently interested in making it seem as if we're on lockdown.
Yeah.
And that it's all just mix that in with how vague the other things that he said about it are. That it essentially is. That is now, as it stands, the latest information from the government.
It's horrifying.
You're grand. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
It's just absolutely terrifying to me.
Yeah. So that's what's going on. Anyway, that's what's going to be going on here. Maybe it'll shake out all right, but I know. Yes, I know why I was saying even Trump hasn't done this. What we have in the UK is a person, Dominic Cummings, who is the face of the second wave of the coronavirus. Not because he, personally spread it by going to Durham, and it will be pointed out that would be a great exaggeration by people who think that that's what we're claiming. But because he did that, and because it was judged to be okay, we're now going, that we're going to have a second wave. Yeah. We always knew we were, but now there's a particular person that did it.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting position to be in. So we'll see how that shakes out. And
I'd like to think that this is the thing that's going to make him unelectable again. But he did have a full career of being profoundly idiotic and and so on prior to actually being properly elected.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Go on TV and be silly, and people liked it, and he used to say stupid and racist things. And by the way, interesting that at this point in the conversation, I don't know if we're still talking about Boris or if we've moved on to Trump and how it doesn't matter.
It's 50-50. It really, they're both the same man. I think the key difference is that I think that Boris is a little bit more, he uses being a buffoon as a way to manipulate people, whereas Trump is just an idiot.
Yeah.
And there's people always say these things like, oh, well, the only reason Trump is doing controversial thing B is to distract people from the fact that he's doing controversial thing A. And I don't think that's true. I just think that he's a consistently stupid man who consistently makes poor choices, and they overlap. I don't think it's a deliberate diversionary tactic. I think he's just an idiot.
Yeah, I think that's true. Whereas I would expect Boris to be clever enough to deliberately do things. And so you're always having to go like, oh, what's really going on? What's this about? There was even the question mark like, well, what this Dominic Cummings thing, is that to cover something up? Probably not. I think in this case it was because, the story was broken. And but never know with any of that lot. Anyway, so this has been a cheerful Batman stream about nostalgia television.
This is going well. Batman fights injustice. I reckon Batman would have some words to say about Boris Johnson right now.
Sorry, the only reason I've been talking about that is that it just happened.
Yeah.
Let's swerve completely. Let's be happy and nice, and let's see what's going on in the chat. One Chop asked, care to sum up the politics for us? Don't know what's going on, chaps. Dave. Well, that has happened.
We did it. Good job, everyone.
Yeah, I don't know if what I did there was summing up or just going on and on and on and on. I'm
doing a fairly terrible job of being Batman. I think I would have to hand in my cowl. If I were Batman, I've died. Batman's dead, everyone.
I was Batman today, by the way. Just this morning for the not the first time, but I more or less first time fired up Arkham Knight because I played the first 2 Arkham games through on PC. Loved them. Recognize that there are complaints to be made about the second one, but didn't personally feel myself constricted by them.
My personal favorite is, I think, always going to be Arkham Asylum, but I still enjoyed Arkham City.
Yeah. Because Arkham Asylum is just a good Metroid, whereas Arkham City is like, let's throw some other mechanics in as well, and it's not as tight. But I still loved it. City. Whereas Arkham Knight, I had it on the PS4 and I started playing it, and my memory of it was being quite overwhelmed and stopping playing it fairly quickly when the Batmobile tutorials kicked off, and I thought that was weird of me, and I wonder why I did that. And well, anyway, I just noticed the other day I was like, I never got around to playing that Arkham Knight, and I enjoyed the Arkham games. Let's see if they're going cheap on anything. So I searched all your Steams and your Epics and all of that, and it wasn't really. It's like 15 quid or something. That's cheap enough, but it's not on sale. So I'm like, I won't. And then yesterday, I noticed that I shouldn't have bothered because I already own it. It turns out. At some point, I've ended up with it on the Epic Store, and I wouldn't have bought it, I don't think. So it must have been free. So great. So I've loaded it up, and this morning I played the start, and this time I sailed through the early game, including the Batmobile bit. I don't know whether it was just that I didn't get what I was being asked to do before, and this time I do. I don't see what my problem was. It's easy to do. It doesn't go on very long. When I first played it, I felt like the entire game was being suddenly completely changed into this tank game that I didn't want to play.
Yeah.
And that's not what I felt this time. So maybe that... And I've seen people... That's one of the complaints people have about the game. Maybe that happens worse later. I don't know. But
I know I definitely got to a bit with... how the hell am I supposed to kill the Joker? Because I can't jump on him. I can't throw anything at him. So I get to this point where the two roller coasters are side by side, and the Joker's just throwing crap at me and killing me. Basically, I'm defenseless.
Well, you know what you need. You need an oracle.
If only I
to
had
look it
some
up for
kind
you
of
on the database.
So, now that the bad news is, can we substitute the inability to use your legs with your fun chronic illness? Can we? Is that doable?
I don't know, but is there a comparison to be made with the fact that I'm not allowed to essentially stand up and leave, or is that problematic?
I think we're in problematic waters here, if I'm being completely honest.
I think
I've opened a powder keg and then peered inside with a match. That's what's happened here. I apologise profusely.
Let's just swerve away from that then. When the Joker starts to throw bombs at you, go up to the front of the car and kneel, kicking the bombs that don't go over your head. Continue doing this until the view switches from side to front. At this time, stand on the right edge of the car, punching the bombs that don't go over your head back at the Joker.
All right, let's see how that goes. I mean, I think this, like, in terms of design, I quite like this. Hang on.
So I've now got a new. It's like they've made a new Arkham game just for me, and it's very exciting.
Wait, which edge am I supposed to be standing at?
You can see again.
Because it says that the ones that are sailing and the ones that aren't sailing over your head, they're all sailing over my head.
Oh well, I suppose that's all right then.
Except for the ones that are hitting me.
Hang on. You stand on the right edge of the car.
Okay.
That's it. It just says the bombs that don't go over your head, you punch them back at the Joker and get him with his bombs. That's all it says.
Alright, well now I'm here. Your luck has run out, Joker. I'm going to say goodbye now, apparently.
Okay.
Oh, hello. Now I'm just fighting him. Oh, no, he's killed me. Good job, Joker. The Joker's done it, everyone. He's finally won. My one rule with social interaction, it's one of many rules, but it's the one I like saying out loud because it's funny, is never trust someone who's wearing an item of clothing with the Joker on it. And I say this as someone who owns a Joker hoodie, which I bought out of necessity, because I was at Six Flags Magic Mountain, it got very cold, and I went and bought a hoodie, and the only hoodie they had in my size had the Joker on it. But it's a really weird design because this side is dark grey and this side is light grey, and it's the Joker instead of Two-Face or someone.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, if you're wearing the Joker, my immediate my guard goes up. And there's maybe no reason for it, but I just have an immediate. If anyone's like, yeah, I'll wear that. I'll wear him. You know that one serial killer who wears his own face. I'll be him. I'll wear him.
I was very cross when they did that. By the way, the thing in a few years ago, they had Joker's face get cut off in some way, and he wears it like a floppy mask.
Yeah.
Very cross about that because that to me stood as like the ultimate proclamation that how comics could be fun. Well, no.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And here's the thing, I'm not open. It's not that I'm averse to other interpretations of the Joker. It's that particular. There's such a grim. And also going to as many comic conventions as I used to go to, seeing people cosplay as that version of the Joker made me feel it was queasy. It made me feel queasy to look at.
Yeah. See. Okay. Yeah. See. So this was a little rant that I used to go on at the time, and I haven't been on it for a while. But it could be either that it could be that things have changed, or it could be that I've given up, or it could simply be that my information has. I just stopped paying attention at that point. But that was where I stopped paying attention to superhero comics. I just gave up on it all because my wife worked at a comic shop at the time, and we knew that the thing that was thriving in comics, and this remains the case now, is children's comics. And we know that we all like comics because we read them as children. And so there's just something unbearably dorky about going oh, this isn't for children, when I think it should be.
Yeah.
I don't want to exclude children from comics. And especially in an era when, we were at the height of, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and stuff. And yet... So, we had a young nephew at the time, and he was into these things. And the kids who were watching those films, and not so much the DC films, okay, but the Marvel ones certainly, would then walk into a comic shop, and what they would find is, graphic stuff of, a guy with his face ripped off. And I'm sure there was some kind of, special edition of something that came with the mask of his face or something like that. And that was gross. And then, so gross versions of things... Or if you actually go over to the Marvel shelf, none of the characters from the films were particularly in them at that point. All the characters were other people, and that's fine. I don't mind that. I like updating that, but I sort of do think that you ought to also have a line for the kids to read that does tie in with the thing that they're into, without them having to put up with second-rate artwork, which you sometimes find, don't you? It's here's the comic that ties in with the film, but it's it's just a sort of a blobby looking young children.
Or you get here's the comic version of the cartoon version of the film, and it just uses screen grabs from the cartoon.
Yes, hate that, and they deserve better. That's where I am. I just think that all the best enjoyment I am now an adult who will read and enjoy adult comics. I was reading a big Chris Ware book just recently that's very, very grown up and brilliant. But the best, despite all that, and the fact that I've read all the classic books, the good adult graphic novels that everyone tells you to read, the actual best times I've ever had reading comics were while I was a child reading fun comics suitable for children. And it just annoys me whenever something or someone tries to steer the industry away from that. And you can't escape the fact that Marvel and DC are the main thing in the comics industry as far as awareness is concerned.
Yeah.
They're not the best selling thing. That's kids' graphic novels.
Yeah.
But God, I don't know. I don't know why I have such a stick up my ass about this, but I think it's because I have read the comics, the superhero comics from, decades ago when they were meant to be fun, and they're better.
Yeah, are you talking about stuff like the Golden Age stuff, or are you talking about slightly more recent stuff?
I don't know about Golden Age, because that's very old, isn't Golden Age like
50s,
like 30s, or
30s, 40s, 50s. That's where I put it. I'm not a comic scholar or
this is
or
the
a
thing.
collar.
I don't know what the difference is between Golden Age and Silver Age, but I know those are different things, and I don't know which is which. Well, anyway, whatever it is, I know that there was a time when superhero comics. I mean, like, so for example, I remember getting the Essential X-Men, which was like a book of the first however many issues, like a big thick book of the original X-Men issues ever, and reading through that, it was a lot of fun. It was really cool, and I could well imagine being alive at a time when you would, look forward to the next superhero comic, and it would be fun, and it would come out, and Batman would meet a new enemy this time, and it would be Scarecrow or whatever, and now, oh, cool, and that,
Calendar Man. Ooh.
Maybe not that one.
Condiment King.
One's an extremely boring one. But now that it's gone... But yes, actually, that is a good example. I've always thought of Calendar Man. Well, first time I heard of him was in the Arkham games, but I always thought of that as a stupid one. Like, what a stupid one. Why have you put that in? But if comics were fun, it would make sense, because it would be that this particular issue, there's a guy doing calendar stuff, and it's like, what's that going to be? And then next issue, it'll be a guy doing crocodile stuff, and what's that going to be? And, like, it's when you have to try and get that into a sort of gritty world that we all insist it has to be because Tim Burton made a film once. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, I'm right there with you. I think this is the thing. I think that people grew up reading these... Oh, balls. People grew up reading these old balls, and they've expected the balls to grow up with them. It's the same as it's the Legend of Zelda problem. People grew up playing A Link to the Past and Link's Awakening, and to a certain extent Ocarina of Time. And as they've gotten older, there's a reason why Wind Waker people were so adamantly against that game, and like people were very vocal about how much they didn't like it when it came out, because they thought, oh, I want Ocarina of Time but grittier, because they expected to grow up with them. People expect the things that they liked as kids to continue to be things that they like, and if they don't, if that doesn't happen, they take it deeply personally. And I think to a certain extent, I think you're right. I think that I don't have a problem with there being comics for adults. I don't have a problem with there being a version of Batman that is for adults. But I don't think that should be the version of Batman. I think there should be the version of Batman that is available to, but you can walk into a comic book shop and say, I want the latest Batman comic, please. Here you are. That's the version that I think, kids should be, and parents as well, should be comfortable reading. And then there's another version for people who want their gritty, moody, Tim Burton-y, Chris Nolan-y Batman with the weird faces. But that shouldn't be like, this is what Batman is now. You know what I mean? Like,
and I think that is books.
Yeah.
I think that's where books come in. I don't know why us men in our 30s are being expected to buy floppy monthly comics to read like adult cinematic content. Like, that's books.
Yeah, do a book.
Just wait. Just make all the artwork for a book and then bring it out. I think it's that I'm just rallying against the realities of the market, which is that like they have, or no, half is a strong word, but they do fund the creation of the content using the format that they have, which is, I mean, because I can't buy monthly superhero comics anyway, not just because they're ridiculously expensive, but because I remember the last time I read superhero comics, maybe this has changed, but certainly in the Marvel comics, I remember you couldn't get to, like, if you saw 2 pages, like a double page spread of comic, not one spread, but 2 pages of comics side by side, and neither one of them was adverts. It was an amazingly pleasant surprise. Yeah. It almost never happened. And that was the point at which I just stopped, because I was like, well, I've paid for this, so, like, one or the other, either charge us a huge premium to buy 20-odd pages of floppy paper, or fill it up with adverts. Not both.
Yeah.
But I have all sorts of stupid... I have all sorts of stupid ambitions and opinions and thoughts about this, which is like, in my ideal world, the model would be completely different, and it would be that the monthlies would be done on very cheap paper and probably in black and white, just line art, and you would just buy them for cheap and read them, and they would be very throwaway, and nobody would collect them, and they would just exist.
Kind of like an Ashcan kind of deal, really.
Yeah. Also, they would be available in a different format monthly, which is the great big book.
Yeah.
the sort of the dream that you hear about in, you know, Japanese businessmen reading phone book sized comics.
Yeah.
That stuff, those, and it would be all the superheroes all just thrown together in one big book. You'd have maybe Marvel, maybe DC would each bring out 3 or 4 of these a month.
Yeah.
But they would be themed in some way. There would be a couple of key name characters in each one, but you would have a lot of content for, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like somewhere between £5 and £10 a month, I would pay for that. And then the stories would then be collected in their own color trades and even hardbacks or what have you. That's where the glossy paper comes in. That's where the color comes in.
Yeah.
That's where the production values jump up, and you're paying full price for that the way we currently do. Whereas the current model is like, you pay like £3 per comic or more for a load of nonsense that isn't long enough to really enjoy, is full of adverts.
You're paying like I mean, here it's like $4 or $5 now, but you're paying a fiver for basically like part of the first act of a TV show.
Yes.
And I'm not super keen on that when I can pay $2 for an episode of Doctor Who.
That's the thing. That's in the era where the TV that we watch along those lines is a subscription service where you pay £8 a month for Netflix and you get it all.
Yeah.
That if there was something like that, if you could just subscribe to DC and you could subscribe to Marvel, and they just gave you these big phone book things, and again, cheap paper for me. Well, it's either black and white or simple color like in the old days.
It's interesting that you say that, because DC did try to do something like that here. They did DC Universe, which was a combination streaming service and comic platform.
And coffee maker.
It was the tea and coffee making facilities left a lot to be desired, but in terms of a comic platform, it was actually pretty good. And you got all of their stuff. You got their Christopher Reeve Superman movies. You got the Tim Burton stuff. You got the TV shows like 60s Batman, and they did a high def remaster of the animated series, which was gorgeous. But then also there was an app where you could read comics. You could go through the entire DC back catalogue of stuff, new stuff, old stuff. I keep getting hit by those swirly things as the roller coaster goes around. I'm bad at roller coasters, bad for America. And they're about to, later this year, they're going to be merging that with HBO Max, which is launching this week. So HBO Max is going to get all of the original DC Universe shows, but I think the comic side of things is just going to go. I don't know that I don't know that there's been a lot of use out of that. I think my roommate, I've walked in and found my roommate reading a comic on the television using the DC Universe Roku app. That is
the thing. Digital comics doesn't work. I mean, I know that a lot of people read comics digitally. I've read comics digitally, but that's not what comics are for. There's until iPads are floppy and light and, do you know what I mean? Like, comics are for lounging around with, not having to hold something that's like either like heavy enough that you have a time limit to how long you can do it for, or a phone that's too small, or a TV that's just ridiculous to read a comic on. Like, this is why, like, if comics could do one thing that would make me happy and nobody else.
There's a target audience here of one.
But I don't know why nobody... Okay, I have, in our flat here, a box of comics from when I was a kid and from before when I was a kid, because we found them in the attic of my parents' house when we moved in. And they are Beanos and things.
Yeah.
And they're all gorgeous and lovely, and I love them. And they're printed on like newsprint paper. They are, the older ones are black and white line art with basically a single color per page, dotted, toned on. And when you look at older superhero comics, they're very, very simple colors. They've got, 3 colors they can do to a page, and they look gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
And they look throwaway at the same time. That's what comics should be.
I'm always disappointed when they do like, it's a new printing and we've recolored all of the... No, don't do that.
Oh, God, don't
do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
now, I've said something too strong. I said a minute ago, that's what comics should be. I don't mean that. What I mean is, because I want the lavish comics that exist to exist, but it shouldn't be the norm. I think what the norm for comics should be, and I can't help but think that this is a money-making model based on the fact that the comics industry was in a better shape in this country when they did this, and it isn't now. Just print it as cheap as you can and as much content as you can. Do more of it for cheaper, and don't concern yourself with, like, something that worries me is now that we're now aware of, like, how bad manga artists have it in terms of their schedule, like the amount of work they have to do in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
One of the wonderful things about manga, which everyone flipping loves, everyone likes manga. People who read superhero comics like manga, right? But there's two styles of manga. One is the incredibly, like, meticulously, lavishly drawn kind, which is usually done with quite a big team. And then the other is your Tezuka model, your early Dragon Ball, that sort of thing, where it probably is one guy just scribbling, but it's not as lavish as all that. They're simpler shapes. It seems a bit quicker to draw.
I would like to take a moment to point out that after a full hour, I finally finished stage 1 of The Adventures of Batman.
First level. Astro Boy looks no less beautiful than, let's say, a modern, could come out like this month, if they were coming out this month, issue of Batman. But the difference is that right now, all the superhero comics are being drawn. The style of them is so incredible. The way they're drawn is amazing. They look like real people. They're so the anatomy is so perfect, and it's all the camera angles are so. It's all incredible to look at, and it's so much work, and it must take. Unless I'm sure there are a handful of artists in the world who can do those pages quickly, but they look like they take days and days each. And yet, the people who are having to work in that style have a month because they come out monthly. I'm sure they do have slightly longer because it's done with a buffer. But imagine if people of that level of skill were allowed to draw like they did in the, I don't know, let's say 60s. How much comics we could have. Imagine how many silly adventures we could be reading, and how those would be enough to fill big phone book, newsprint books, and be turned into lavish, brilliantly coloured trades later on, and come out as cheaper floppies, and we'd all go and buy them because they'd be cheap, so we'd load our arms up with them, and we'd take them all home, and we'd be reading loads of stuff. As it is, a person on a normal salary has to pick their favourite one or two and be dedicated to that. There's little room to trying new stuff. By the way, I have noticed that today I'm coming off as a great big grumpy pants. I don't know what has caused it. I don't know. I'm not in a bad mood today. I've done all day. Earlier today. I was just flopped in a sofa with a cross face on, like. And Abby was like, "What's the matter?" And I'm like, "Oh, nothing. That's just I'm fine." I don't know what
about comics. Apparently, you got a lot of comic thoughts.
I keep being rude to people when I don't mean to be today. I'm in what appears from externally to be a foul mood, but I personally feel perfectly happy and jolly. I don't know what's up. So somewhere between my brain and my mouth, all my thoughts are getting filtered through grumpiness, and it sounds like. But this is a rant that I've had brimming in me, and bits of it keep coming out. I just would love it if there were more cheaper-looking comics, and then I could afford to read them, I think is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, because I think the problem we have right now is that the model of the industry, and I think that there's a certain extent, this is to a certain extent true of entertainment as a whole, the model of the industry kind of, to a certain extent, encourages piracy. Because it is not financially viable. I can't buy all these comics in the way that they have to find out what happens next time, you have to buy Iron Man 134 or whatever. It's like, well, I don't want to buy Iron Man 134. I want to keep reading Captain Marvel, and it's that kind of stuff. There's like big crossover events as well, which exist specifically to generate revenue, not to tell an interesting story. I think that the comic industry, really, I think the death of Superman was kind of the beginning of the end for the comics industry. And I'm not the first person to say that. I realise this is not necessarily an original thought, but that's how I feel at the moment. I feel like the death of Superman didn't just ruin death for comics, for comic book characters. It kind of broke event stories because it meant that that model kind of became a go-to standard for, well, here's how we're going to do these stories from now on, and if you don't like it, then just don't buy comics. It's like, well, okay, well, I'm not going to then. That's the situation we're in right now. I'm just not going to buy your comics.
Yeah.
My personal model is, my personal preference is, I so rarely buy individual issues of things. I think the last individual issue of anything that I bought was, I think it was one of the Doctor Who Star Trek The Next Generation crossover comics that they did.
Yeah.
I think that's the last time I bought a floppy, and I think my go-to now, my approach now is, well, I'm just going to buy the trades. I'm just going to buy the trades because you've not given me any reason to buy the floppies when so little happens in them, and they're so expensive. And when the trade comes out, I can get essentially the same story for half the price.
Yeah, and what it means is that if you are sensible, then you wait and you buy the book. And if you do that, the industry dies because they need us to be buying the monthlies.
Yeah.
It's so silly. It's just not. I mean, look, it's just not what I want. But yeah. I know that I'm. It's probably a bit of a hot take, like when I say that, like, I want it to be cheaper and be printed on bad paper and things like this. But like,
I want part of the comic to be worse, please.
The reason I'm saying that is that I genuinely, having lived in a world where that was how comics were printed, I'm telling you that it isn't worse. Like the not you know, but anyone who like doesn't remember that, it was better. It was like they looked great, and it didn't, like, you don't have to have shiny glossy paper that you have to like find the correct angle to be able to see past the reflection of the sunlight to even read. You can just print on paper and it'll be fine, and it'll be cheaper, and then we can buy more of it.
I still remember getting my my Beanos on the nasty gritty, like, I remember having a texture to it that I didn't like, but I didn't care because I was reading the Beano. The
thing is, the British comics industry is now almost gone. The Beano still exists.
It's in a magazine format now, isn't it?
Oh, goodness knows, because I don't read it, but it's about the same. Honestly, the Beano, it's not printed on the scrappy newsprint anymore, but that's the only remaining comic. Whereas in my childhood, there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. And it's not the only remaining comic, because there's also the wonderful Phoenix, but that is harder to come by, and you generally subscribe to it rather than just picking it up when you happen to be down the shops with your mum. But like, this is how the superhero comics used to be printed, and they like extremely took over the world by themselves without having to be Marvel movies. Now, the comics are very much secondary to the movies, and I just feel like it's because people are choosing. They're going like, well, I can't be doing with that, going in a specialist shop, which it has to be now, and buying these things. I don't know.
I still remember going to my local newsagents and, buying a Beano or a Superman or what have you. Well, not Superman. My first exposure to any kind of like American comics was my dad bought the trade paperback for The Death of Superman. I remember reading it, getting to the last page, seeing Superman had died. I remember thinking, wow, that's really ballsy. They've just killed off Superman. Wow, that's actually really impressive. And then because I didn't know it, I did not discover until many, many years later that they had not killed him permanently. Like, I remember as a kid thinking, wow, Superman is gone. No more Superman movies. That was my approach as a kid. Well, this is clearly,
Right, the whole franchise shuts down now.
Yeah, that's it. This is the last Superman thing. And then Lois and Clark comes on the TV, and I'm like, well, does this come before or after? Because that's what I was as a kid. I was that annoying kid.
No, I used to try and connect these things together. And somewhere on an old hard drive, I don't know if it will still exist or not, but I did write a fanfic connecting the two cartoon series of Sonic the Hedgehog that there were at the time. and how it, making it make sense that one could lead into the other, even though it doesn't and it can't. But just to finish off the thought, I spent years thinking this about comics and thinking that it would be so much better if they could print them cheaper and so on, and they'd sell more. And then someone just made the platonic ideal better version of that argument. There's me speculating and going no, but I remember when there was more comics and they were cheaper and they used to print them cheaper and they used to be really popular. No, someone just said this, and it's the simplest thing ever. Look at the manga shelf at your local comic shop. Look how heaving it is. Look how popular it is. Look how people are coming in and they're buying them. It's not just because it comes from Japan. There was an era where we were all weebs and people read manga because it's from Japan. But that time has gone, and the kids are still concentrating on reading that stuff.
Do you remember when Jonathan Ross had that show on, I think, BBC Three that was just about Japanese culture?
I do, yeah.
That's it. That's my contribution to this part of the discourse. Please continue.
They're reading those books because, one, they do not mind black and white, and two, it keeps the prices down.
Yeah.
So they can buy a book, and they've got a whole book, and they get to read through a whole book for the price of, what, 2 issues of Batman? Or, slightly over? No, not even really slightly over. It's, what, £8 or something for a manga book? Something like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't bought them in a while.
Well, I think that... I don't know how much... I mean, they're about $15, $20 here, unless you get one of the big ones.
I'm sure I'm wrong then. Maybe it's more like £10 to £12 here, something like that.
It might be cheap.
That's still not many issues of Batman, though, is it?
Yeah. Compare that to... Yeah, I mean, I have some comics. I have a stack of books but on my bedside table right now, one of which is... Marvel's run of The Vision from a couple of years ago, which my girlfriend Mandy, my wonderful, wonderful girlfriend, bought and has lent me to read because it was one of the first US comics that she bought and really enjoyed. So I'm about halfway through that right now, and I'm probably going to finish it off tonight, especially seeing as we've just spent most of the day discussing comics.
Is this the one where they're a family in a house?
Yeah.
That's a good one. I read that one.
I'm very much I'm enjoying it. I'm not going to lie, and I want to read more of it, please, instead of this. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to read comics.
Well, I suggest that's what you do for the rest of the day, basically.
Well, what I am going to do is we're going to switch things up because we've been watching me be a terrible Batman for a very long time, and it is, I think, time to accidentally alt-tab into the wrong window. And we're going to get rid of this, and we're going to bring in this. Now, I've never played Postman Pat. I have no idea what to expect. It is Postman Pat, the computer game.
Ben, stop! Before you continue on...
Time for a quick history lesson. When was this pirate hanged?
No.
Okay.
What I was going to do was I was going to warn you, and I've realised I don't need to warn you, because other versions of this game play the Postman Pat theme tune incessantly throughout, and you have to switch it off at the title screen or you'll go mad. I don't think the Spectrum version does that.
Okay.
So, yeah, this game, I'm very interested in this game. I used to have this game on the Spectrum, and I am of the opinion that Postman Pat on the ZX Spectrum is the prototype for Grand Theft Auto.
I appear to be going backwards.
You do appear to be going backwards. That's an interesting technique.
Now, I'm not pressing anything to make him go backwards. He's just going backwards.
Well, I think what you're doing is you're pressing the direction you want to go in, and the back of the van is facing in that direction. You have to do a 3-point turn. And that is what, would happen in a GTA as well, if I'm remembering correctly, the early ones. So yeah, what we're looking at here is, in the model of the original GTA, an overhead camera driving round a town open world game on the ZX Spectrum. The only difference is that instead of gunning people down, what you're doing is delivering letters.
I don't know where I'm delivering letters to.
Well, I think what you may have done is you may have taken off from the post office a bit too quickly. And I think you need to go back there.
I started the game and he had already decided he was going there. Let me see if I can restart the emulator. 1 second. Here's what I'm going to do. Oh, no, I can't do that. Is that the open button? Is that what I'm doing? Let's play Dynamite Dan instead, apparently. Now, here we go, Postman Pat.
Ah, yes, I think that one comes with it.
All right.
So, Postman Pat, a children's television program from 1981 here in the UK, made by Ivor Wood, one of the animators from the Magic Roundabout. It was good. It was a good television program for young children. It was calm, it was gentle, and it had a lovely village that everybody lived in and walked around. So here we go. You got 1 hour to do the deliveries. That is Mrs. Goggins, the owner of the post office. Please take this parcel to, come on, Ted Glenn. Right, Ted Glenn. He is the local fix-it man. And you've got to drive around until you find him.
Backwards.
And that's it.
So
I mean, Ben, you can choose to go backwards if you wish.
So I'm just looking for Ted.
Yep. There's a handyman called Ted Glenn, and he's working once again. He can just about fix anything you ever need to mend. Maybe a tractor or a ladder or a broken frying pan. Just go down and see him, and he'll help you if he can.
Just buy a new
just
frying
leave
pan.
It with me. Dum-de-dum-dum, leave it with me.
Just get a new one.
I'll try to fix that up for you. Quickly as can be. I'm just tuning into the fact that I've started singing that out loud. That just happened as soon as Ted Glenn is mentioned.
Yes.
I'm going to have to do it, aren't I? Just a moment. I'm just heading off in this direction.
Do it.
My headphones won't stretch long enough, so I'm not going to be able to hear you from.
Pick something in the background and ask him about it quickly before he. There's a blue thing on top of those set of drawers. What's the blue thing on top of the set of drawers? What's the blue? You all have to ask. This is becoming kind of a tradition, I think, and we have to do it.
Yeah. So,
Is this this isn't going to be more of your pornography that you think might be your dad's and that your dad think might belong to you? Is it?
No, nothing of the sort. Although it is certainly pornography, but it belongs only to me. What I have here is a copy of the album Postman Pat, songs and music from the television series. Here on vinyl.
Check this out. Oh, sorry. Are you watching this? Look what happens if I decide, you know what, I'm going to drive past this tractor.
What does happen? You have 55 minutes. Oh, wow, it corrupts the whole world.
Everything's gone. I can hang out here.
Cool. Wow, okay, so there's a problem with this ROM.
But it's only if I drive... I don't think you're supposed to drive past this tractor.
Maybe.
I suspect they've just... It takes you to an invalid, memory address.
Yeah, maybe.
And you can kind of see at the top of the screen, you can see the... This is fascinating. I love stuff like that.
That's very odd. I feel like that's not how it used to be, otherwise I'd have noticed, because I would definitely, as a child, have tried to drive past that tractor. Well, anyway, that'll be... Oh, what was his name? Fogg. Peter Fogg? Somebody Fogg. So that's not Ted Glenn. You're wasting time, Ben. We've only got 55 minutes.
I'm stuck behind this puddle.
Oh, no.
Oh, here we are. I'm out now.
There we go. That's just... I'm sure there was an episode where he got stuck behind a puddle, and that was just emulating that.
Yeah. There's also the episode where he walked off the edge of the world into Glitch Town. Yes,
and the whole world corrupted.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a vinyl copy of the Postman Pat album, which I had on tape as a very young child, and have recently, it's sometime in the last 10 years, can't remember when it was, repurchased on vinyl. And the reason I've done that is that it's extremely good and one of my favourite albums. It's, you've got your Postman Pat theme and his black and white cat, all that. You've got a few other nice songs, but you've also got some very, very pleasant instrumentals. The last one of which, Busy Day, is full-on improv jazz. Which, I don't know, I just feel like you don't get that from your kids' TV these days.
Not so much with the improv jazz.
No, and it doesn't compromise in any way. It's proper improv jazz, it actually is. It's really weird that it's just suddenly there. But for anyone watching the stream who can see on the camera. Here is a picture of what Postman Pat the television series looks like, and I think you'll agree it looks lovely. Look at his little van there, driving over a little hill in a lovely village. That's what Postman Pat is all about. It's about the lovely village and the people who live in the lovely village. And in this game, all of those people are here recreated, and we have to deliver parcels to them.
Well, it's not here. This is not it.
No.
This
that's
is
not
the
it.
church.
That's the church.
This is the driving van.
Tibbs.
I think, not intentionally, but I am almost exclusively driving in reverse at this point.
It's not intentional. You're doing that deliberately each time. I mean, accidentally each time.
It's just, that's the way that the game has decided is the best way to kind of tootle along. Well, I appear to be entering some kind of village area. So maybe...
The village of Greendale, no doubt.
Which is where John McHale went to university. He went to college here.
Really?
Yeah, also Donald Glover. And Alison Brie.
I know who that is.
I'm making a reference to the hit Sony sitcom Community.
Is that set in a place called Greendale?
The community college is called Greendale Community College, yes.
Ah, right. That explains why I've never watched it. That would have made me very angry.
You should...
What?
Community's genuinely one of the funniest American sitcoms of the last 5,000 years, and you should, if you haven't seen it, you should be watching it right now.
I will watch it. Presumably 30 Rock is set on the island of Sodor, is it?
Yes, it is.
They do these things just to annoy me. They do.
Yeah. And MASH is set inside like the middle of the Magic Roundabout, so that's not too bad.
It's just inside the middle of the Magic
Roundabout. You
open
the Magic Roundabout, and there's Alan Alda in there drinking a martini and musing about death. Yeah.
The last episode of MASH, it just zooms out and out and out, and it's Magic Roundabout.
Yeah.
Still no sign.
Oh, this is where I live.
Oh, there's Pat's house.
I've made it home.
Nice.
All right, I'm clocking out, guys. I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw the mail into the lake and just go to sleep. Much like my postman once did.
Now, I think you're playing it on easy mode. Is that safe to say?
Yes, I put it on easy because, much like if watching me play Batman for the last 70 years has taught us anything, it's that.
Yeah.
Well, this is where Miss Hubbard lives. I'll make a note of that for later. Did this game come with a map?
No. You were just, you just learned it. That was part of the game.
Well, I don't want to have to learn. I resent having to learn.
So yeah, this is an easy version. I'm looking in the original instructions here. The game has an easy version suitable for younger children, like Ben, and a hard version for the serious gamer.
Wow.
Oh, gamer! The word gamer used here in Postman Pat.
That's got it. So this is a game for hardcore gamers then.
Well, so this game came out in 1988 for the Spectrum, and I guess I'm just interested that we had the word gamer back then. I certainly don't remember it.
True gamer culture is being able to play Postman Pat on difficult.
This is it. What serious gamer is buying Postman Pat anyway? So here I'll read you this so that you have some context for what it is you're supposed to be doing. It seemed like just another day to Pat as he climbed out of bed. Little did he know he would be rushed off his feet by all the work that faced him this morning as he did his round of Greendale. Parcels, letters, and all sorts of odd jobs would keep him very busy. You can help Pat and Jess to get the job done by guiding his van around the village. You start the game by finding the post office, where Mrs. Goggins will... Oh yeah, in hard mode, you start at Pat's house, and you have to find the post office.
Wow.
Where Mrs. Goggins will tell Pat what he must deliver. It will be either a number of letters or a parcel for one of Pat's friends. You can drive around the village and can reverse if you need to turn around, or if you want to just drive around the whole village in reverse, in order to find your friend's house and deliver the parcel. Letters are delivered to the houses, which flash as you pass them. To deliver a letter, just press the fire button as you pass the house. If you miss, you have to get Pat out of the van using the fire button and guide him to pick up the letter and then try again. If Peter Foggs's sheep get loose, you can help him by herding the sheep back through the gate. You must find them yourself. Watch out for oil slicks on the road. And I think they're not in the easy mode version.
I'll tell you this. I appear to have gotten the van stuck.
Oh, you silly.
I've wedged it. It's not budging in any way, shape, or form. We had more mobility when we slipped into Glitch Town.
Well, I think you should restart then, because you've clearly been driving for a long time and not found the guy whose parcel this is.
Yes, let's start this again.
Yeah, you might get lucky this time. You might be asked to do the paperboy version where you're throwing letters into people's houses.
Excuse me. I'm very awake.
Watch out for oil slicks on the road and try not to knock over Mrs. Rebecca Hubbard, who is very unsafe on her wobbly bike.
Oh, I've accidentally left it. I've accidentally left it on difficult, so now I have to drive to the post office. It's fine. I can do this. I'm a hardcore gamer.
Exactly. You're a hardcore gamer, or at least you're not a very small preschool child.
I've crashed.
You've crashed. Get another van.
Didn't know you could do that.
Okay, so in hard mode. Well, that's because you were playing easy mode. I guess in hard mode, there's lives. I don't know how many lives. Oh, I do. There used to be 2 vans at the bottom left.
Yeah,
now there's
one.
So you've got only one more chance. Because Pat is such a busy chap, you've only got a short time to complete all your tasks. If you run out of time, the game's over.
Sounds right and just.
Yeah.
I found Miss Hubbard again, so I know where Miss Hubbard is.
Miss Rebecca Hubbard is a strong-willed lady, never thinks of using any words like maybe. And when she starts a job, she likes to see it through, and always likes to feel that she has much to do. With church choirs, flower shows, fetes and galas, clubs and cubs and brownies, guilds for farmers, collections for church charities, and garden parties with high teas. And in between these fine activities, gets run over and murdered by the local postman.
Well, you know, it's in the words of every animal that has ever appeared on the Flintstones, it's a living. Do you remember early on in the Flintstones when they first got Dino and Dino could talk?
No. I don't remember that.
They did a whole episode where they acquired Dino, and Dino was conversational and charming and funny.
Wow, what happened? They just lobotomized him.
I think they just took him in for a lobotomy, yeah.
Driving round the local county, getting driven over by the local postman, loves to organize events, and whenever she is murdered, she has no nonsense.
It's unfinished business.
It's Miss Rebecca Hubbard from Postman Pat.
Perfect.
Songs and music from the TV series.
Available to purchase now at all good record shops.
Available to purchase nowhere at no record shops, unless you happen to find it. I mean, I got this one off eBay. £3.99 it says on it. I don't know if that was the price when it came out. I don't think it's what I paid for it. I think I paid more like £7 for it.
It's not too shabby.
No. The reason I think that is that that's what I usually, if I see something for about that price, that's when I buy it. In my recollecting all my childhood tapes as vinyl adventures.
And you may have seen me on Twitter talking about this the other day. I went on eBay thinking, I reckon I could find a copy of Hero Quest pretty affordably. And
fool's errand.
Oh, yes, $250 at least.
Wow.
So I shan't be getting Hero Quest anytime soon, which is a great shame because it was always one of my favourite board games. I have instead... I bought Tabletop Simulator, which is like $20 on Steam right now, and someone has modded Hero Quest into it. But I would need to find other people who also own Tabletop Simulator to play it with, and therein lies the rub, because it's not really the way that it's set up on Tabletop Simulator. It's not really something you can do locally, because the game master needs to be able to make changes on the fly as players are playing, and that's not really something that Tabletop Simulator is built for.
The thing is, whether it was or not, Tabletop Simulator is not the same thing as having a copy of Hero Quest, is it?
Yeah.
You can simulate it, but it's not. It's like I was saying before about digital comics. It's all very well and good, but it's not what you wanted.
Yeah, I do know that my favorite tabletop gaming shop in Los Angeles is Geeky Tees in Burbank, and they are sadly closed due to the current. I mean, you can do curbside pickup. And you can find their website at geekytees.com. That's a little free plug for my favourite store if you're in the LA area. But they have game rooms, and you can pay $5 a head, and you can go in the back room. And they also have a selection of games you can play. And one of the games that they have is Hero Quest. And I've been thinking for a very long time, I would love to get a group together, 5 people, including myself, and I'd love to just sit and run Hero Quest for a group, because that game gave me so much joy as a kid. And I even have kind of dusted off the ROMs of the home computer versions. I downloaded the MS-DOS version yesterday, which is very, very colourful. I hadn't realised quite how colourful it was in comparison to the Amiga version. But there's a couple of things it does that aren't quite as good as the Amiga version. But it does, each room, much like on the board, does have its own kind of layout and colour palette. Whereas on the Amiga version, everything kind of uses the same tile set, which is a shame.
Oh, that is a shame.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I wish that they had done an AGA version of Hero Quest.
Yeah.
But what can you do?
Like how wouldn't it be great if there was a version of the DOS version? Wouldn't it be great if there was a version of Simon the Sorcerer that was the DOS graphics with the Amiga music?
That exists actually.
Oh,
the Amiga CD32 version has the DOS graphics in full 256 color, and it has the speech, the talkie soundtrack.
Oh.
The downside is you can't. Oh, game over. I've killed Pat. You can't turn on the subtitles if you're playing the talkie version.
What?
You are playing the talkie version. You cannot switch to subtitles.
I don't actually mind that, because that's just fine. I don't mind if I'm playing the talkie version. I'm generally happy to not have subtitles on of different games. But B, I wouldn't be. I'm not an enjoyer of talkie point and click adventures. I want that text. Those little lines of text appearing over their heads. That's all part of the aesthetic to me.
Yeah.
And I prefer the line readings in my own head to what comes out of the mouths.
Well, I will also tell you this: there was a version of Simon the Sorcerer for the Amiga 1200 that has the 256 color graphics on the DOS version.
Oh, really? What? And it's this. I was under the impression that the AGA Simon the Sorcerer wasn't quite as good as the DOS version.
I mean, having played both, they look more or less identical to me.
Oh, well then.
I appear to have accidentally driven home again.
Oh.
All I've got to do is find the farm, and I keep accidentally driving to the farm, so you think this would be an easy parcel to deliver.
You would think, yeah.
But what we're learning... What if... Hey, Dave, here's a scenario.
Hi.
What if the Royal Mail still uses this as a training program?
Wow. That could happen. That really could happen. Yeah, I've not really been paying attention recently to your screen. So what's going on now? Who have you got to deliver to?
I delivered a thing to Mrs. Hoggard. Hubbard. And now I have to go to...
Marvellous. That was very nice of you to make up for when you killed her.
Yeah. And now I have to find the doctor, who will be easily identifiable because he travels in a big blue box, which kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, to get her prescription. I don't know why I have to get her prescription. I'm a postman, and unless the prescription is being posted, I feel like that is outside of my purview.
Well, I suppose it's a shortcut, isn't it? Like, if what could happen is that the doctor will post the prescription, and then you will pick it up and then take it to the person whose prescription it is. Whereas this just cuts out the middle post box, doesn't it?
But isn't it illegal to mail medicines of this nature?
Oh, well, it's the actual prescription. It's the
I'm
medicine
going to,
itself. Oh, gosh. Well, there you go. That's why she's doing it then. The doctor, I say she, the doctor is a woman in this, if it's the doctor I'm thinking of. Because otherwise...
Jodie Whittaker.
It would be illegal, and... Yeah, so what's happening here is that she's just going to pass the medicine to a postman, who's going to then take it to the recipient.
So what we've done here, we've created kind of a black market postal situation.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. This is Grand Theft Auto.
Yes. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But do you see what I mean? You're doing little errands. You're going from one place to another, picking up quests from characters. Overhead view, driving around an open world city, trying to find, like, quite genuinely, this is the prototype for GTA. And I'm not saying that the people who made GTA necessarily saw this and copied it.
But they absolutely did.
Well, was there not? I seem to remember, wasn't there a game that they were inspired by when they made GTA? Wasn't there another overhead cars game of some sort?
I don't know. I know that their original intent was to make a racing game, but it was like a street racing game, and they made the cops too aggressive, and they found that during development, people were having more fun trying to outrun the cops than they were doing the races. So maybe, I remember there's an Amiga game that was developed by Team 17 called Miami Chase, that was published by Codemasters. This was back when they were still labeling themselves as Team 7 back in the very, very early days of the company.
Really? I didn't know that. And just the other day, I was wondering and thinking to ask you where the 17 came from.
Well, it came from, they were part of a this is not where the Doctor lives. They were part of a collective called 17-Bit Software, who put out like public. We used to be called public domain games at the time, like that kind of, kind of freeware, shareware stuff. And they were called 17-Bit because they were that bit better than all the rest.
Yeah, 16-bit. Yeah. Cool. That makes sense.
So when Team 17, that's where the 17 in Team 17 comes from.
I am now watching a video of the C64 version of Miami Chase, and it is 100% what GTA is based on.
Yeah.
For absolutely definite.
I don't know if Team 7 worked on the Commodore 64 version, but they absolutely did the Amiga conversion.
Now I'm more of an aficionado of Retro City Rampage than I am of the original GTA. I don't know whether that game got this from GTA or from Miami Chase, but certainly Miami Chase has the thing where little spinning green coins are coming out of things and they're having to drive over them to pick them up with their car.
I would be genuinely shocked if anyone with any level of influence anywhere ever has played Miami Chase. Because I played it on the Amiga, and I love Team 17. God bless them. Love their little hearts. Bless their little cotton socks, etc., etc. Yeah. Miami Chase is one of the single worst games I've ever played in my entire life.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it is. I would describe it as fetid.
Oh, that's a real shame because it looks cool.
Maybe the Commodore 64 version is good. I've made it to the post office.
Difficult to tell if you're not... Oh, well done. Difficult to tell if you're not actually the one playing it and you're just looking at a video. You made it to the post office. The first requisite of being a postman.
Yeah, except I've already been there. I've got my mail. I've delivered it. And now I've got to get this medicine. And I don't know what a doctor looks like. Postman Pat needs a doctor. That is what I'm learning in this situation.
I will help you. I will play Oracle again.
Spectrum games are bloody weird, I'll tell you that. I'm back at Miss Hubbard's farm again, or wherever it is.
I don't think she had a farm. I think it might just be a nice house.
Yeah, it's just a nice... I think I was mixing up with Farmer Doodah.
Farmer Doodah. What was it? What was his name? Pottage? Or was that somebody else?
I think
there were Pottages.
I think I'm about... Yep, I'm at Pat's house again. It's difficult because everything kind of looks the same.
Okay, I am now loading up a map.
All right, I will start at the road leading to Pat's house. So that's where I'm parked right now. I'm parked in the middle of the road. The only thing that leads to this road is if I head to the south, I'm at Pat's house. If I head north, I'm at a little cross. Okay, there's a motorbike.
Okay, you should head north.
All right.
You should continue heading north. You should continue heading north.
Oh, hey! That's it. It was that simple.
Yeah. Look at that rich eye chart. Of course you can read. Like, they're in the alphabetical order.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, pleb, pro.
I agree that it looks like pleb, but I bet I would be able to guess what that row of letters had in it.
I reckon you probably could.
You can very much cheat at your eye test. I'm going to have a digestive biscuit.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
And you... I won't have told you this, but the famous story in our family is how when we were quite young, my little brother came tottering into the living room with a digestive in his hand, and he said to me in a mysterious voice, "I'm going to have a digestive and you won't notice."
Oh, that's... I was talking to Mandy last night because we've gotten into this habit now of we'll have WhatsApp open on our phones so that we can talk to each other, and fall asleep next to each other. It's I'm a soppy kind of person. I like being able to talk to the person I want to spend the rest of my life with, and
I'm totally in favour of that idea, but I'm worried that it might eat into your monthly data.
Oh, I have Wi-Fi. It's fine.
Okay.
I'm on the Wi-Fi. It's not a problem. But we were talking last night, and I was recounting to her the story of when I was in high school. This probably I would have been 15 or 16. We were in English class, and we're sat at our tables, and we're working on our some essay or some report, or I forget. I think we were doing Romeo and Juliet at the time. And I looked. I remember thinking it's near the end of class when the bell is probably going to go off soon. And I remember thinking I want to vocalize this thought. So what I did was I put my pen down. I sat upright and I just looked straight forward and I just said bell. And then the bell rings.
Oh, nice. And
Michael, who was sitting next to me, had the most astounded look on his face. It's like I just, It was the most cool shot. I've never had a moment of that level of prescience ever again. But it was just this moment of I know that the bell is going to go soon, and I need to say it. And rather than say, "Oh, the bell will be going soon," I just went bell, and it rang. I'm not a spiritual person. I'm not a spooky person. I don't. You're
quite a spooky person.
I am spooky, but that's not the same as being spooky. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. Let's continue.
No.
Yeah, that's the closest I think I've ever come to being genuinely spooky, other than the story that my mother used to tell me when I was I think 2 or 3. I was very little. It was when I wasn't really speaking or putting my thoughts into long, eloquent sentences as I do now. But she has a distinct memory of, or she told me about this time when she was giving me a bath, and I looked her in the eye and said, "Stan's here," and. Ooh. Stanley, my grandfather's name was Stanley. He died 2 weeks before I was born. So this terrified my mother. I think what probably happened is I said 2 syllables that were nothing, and she passed it as, "Oh, my son is seeing my dead father."
Yeah.
Because I'm not spooky, but my mother was very spooky.
Right.
I had very pagan, very kind of Wicca, spiritually parents. I grew up in a pagan household. And my sister's still very much into it. My stepmom also very pagan. But my dad, actually, some people know this. My dad wrote books and gave talks and did podcasts and video streams and so on. He was a fairly, I wouldn't say prominent. I don't know if prominent is the word, but he was a known figure in the American pagan community up to and past his death. When he passed away, we had thousands and thousands of messages and emails from people all across the world. In fact, we got messages from Australia and New Zealand and Japan and predominantly America, because that's where he was most well known. But when he passed away, we had a ton of people, telling us how sorry they were and performing little, blessings and what have you, and that meant nothing. In terms of the spiritual side, that doesn't mean anything to me, but I've always thought, in terms of sentiment, that was a really nice.
Yeah.
Imagine feeling so so fondly for someone on the other side of the planet that you will do your religion at them when they die. I actually think that's quite nice.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
I don't know where I'm going. I've forgotten what I was asked to do.
Oh, interesting. While we've been on the air. The government have tweeted something that they've had to untweet and delete and say, we're looking into it. They've not said that they were hacked, but they have said an unauthorized tweet was posted and we're having to look into it. So,
tell me more about this spectacular tweet that the British government put out and then hastily deleted.
I'd love to, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye out, and there's just a lot of people saying that the government's trash and so on, the normal stuff.
I'm trying to find the post office. Can you help me find the post office? I've just left
I can.
Mrs.
That's
Hoobity
more
Doos.
interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so I think. Okay, there's 2 places you could be right now. No, there isn't. Okay, go left.
I'm just north of Mrs. Hoggett's.
Hubbard left.
Hubbard left.
Hubbard.
I know how words work. I know how Wordsworth.
Up. And right.
Cross the field. Take a sharp right past that yellow house.
And up.
I have a feeling
right.
Right, yes. I have a feeling I know where I am now.
Yes.
Here we are.
Now, as a child, I never once finished this game, and it never even really occurred to me that you could. You know, I would just fire it up, noodle about, switch it off again. I wonder what happens. Like, well, no, what happens in the, not in the sense of like what's the end sequence, but more in the sense of like what is there any indication of how many things you have to clear in the 30 minutes you've got? Because it just seems like they keep giving you stuff, and at one point you'll find out you've won or not.
Well, I'm at the paperboy stage now, so I've delivered one of the letters, and I have 2 more to do. Yeah, I do wonder what I wonder if someone's done like a Postman Pat speedrun.
If not, let's do it.
It will be a very slow speedrun.
In fact, there's no point doing it, because as we've established, if you try and do a speedrun of a game that no one has been interested enough to speedrun, they just don't even accept
don't
it.
acknowledge it, no. And I feel like we've been robbed of our world record speedrun of Count Duckula in No Sex Please We're Egyptian.
Yeah. But they don't care. They don't care, Ben.
Frankly, they don't care, Bear. Frankly, I'm upset. And
I think you need to go right if you're looking for the houses where they want letters delivering.
You're right, the village is all kind of in the same kind of area.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is not delivering letters. Maybe the game, it just keeps going until you run out of time.
Now, mind you, I could be unaware of where you are. Yes, I was wrong, and I don't know where you are. Oh! I think I know where you are. Yeah, left. Continue to progress left, and you'll find yourself in the village. Here we are. Look at the little houses, though.
Just got to wait for
nice.
Looking for a flashing door. Here we are.
There we go. The little shingly roofs.
One more.
You dropped one.
Have I dropped one?
You dropped one on the floor. You're gonna have to, you have to go and get it. What's that supposed to be? Look at him, little scribbly thing.
Well.
Oh, you've gone rogue. Postal, I suppose I would say.
Full Sarah Palin. Because of that book she released called Going Rogue.
I get it now.
I'm very funny.
Go up. And there's a bit more village up there that you might want to have a look at.
It's a very rural area he lives in.
Yeah. It's the rural area. Greendale. Beautiful place.
Oh,
so you can't just go up and post the letters. You have to get back in the van and throw them.
Except I'm throwing it out the wrong side. It can't be...
okay, so you need to turn around then and approach it the other way.
Yeah,
I guess that makes sense, because he's sitting in one side of the van, isn't he?
There we go. Go back to the post office.
All right.
I do like this janky font that they've...
Nope. Yes. No. Continue. And now to the right. No. Wait. Oh, I don't know. I'm lost. Sorry.
Here I am.
Hey!
I'm glad one of us knows where I'm going.
Yep.
I get another cup of tea. There we go.
Well, that janky font is the Postman Pat logo.
Yeah.
Font. Look, there it is.
There it is.
There it is.
I'm quite
accurately recreated.
Take this parcel to Ted Glenn,
Ted Glenn,
who I couldn't find before. I don't think he is in this game. I think
I will find you.
Left him out
Glenn.
just to screw
I will find
with me.
Ted Glenn for you. Okay. No, don't go up there.
That's my favourite
down there.
Norwegian horror movie. No, don't go up there.
Now I'm lost, but I'm going to keep looking and see if I can figure out where you are. Oh, no. Don't know where you are. Oh, down one? Down one. Yeah, left.
You have 20 minutes.
That's fine. Up there. This is going to be a long drive, so let's settle in. Left. Well, obviously. Down here. And left. Or down and left. Doesn't matter which.
It's got a church. It's interesting. Postman Pat never struck me as particularly religious. Am I going down again?
You are going down again. No, I don't know that Pat himself was, but, you know, they had it was an English village in the 80s. They had a church. Down.
Excuse me, woof. Probably gonna go back to sleep after this. We're approaching the 2-hour mark.
Oh gosh, and up.
Yeah.
And left. And you will very good. Oh. Okay, you're gonna have to do the Austin Power thing. Left there, and we are at Ted Glenn's.
He apparently lives in the first world from the Ninja Turtles game on the Nintendo.
There he is. Look at him with his beard.
Please tell
Peter
Fogg
that his sheep are loose.
Please tell Peter Fogg I have prepared his sheep.
Right. Well, I know where his sheep are on the map, but I'm not seeing... Oh, okay, I am. Okay, so down again, over the bridge. And then to the right. Yep, keep on trundling.
Just reversing.
A couple of walls.
It's going backwards, you know.
You're doing very well, by the way. You haven't wrecked any vans in a while.
Well, in fairness, I'm playing on easy mode, and you can't wreck the vans.
Oh, you're playing on easy mode, right, okay.
Otherwise, I think I'd be on my 8th van by now.
Yeah. Okay, up there, obviously. And then to the right. And then down, and you will meet Peter Fogg, who is another farmer, and he's got a tractor. Oh, yeah, no, there is nothing below that on the map, so...
Please help me round up my sheep.
Okay.
I'll go into the Nether realm and see if I can find them there. Give me a minute.
Okay. Any sheep there?
No, not that I could see. All right, let's go back to reality.
All right then. Left here.
Are sheep always in the same place?
Yeah, it looks like. Oh wait, are they? I've got a place on the map that says sheep. Anyway, I don't know if that means that the sheep are there or what, but keep going straight on.
That tree's upside down.
Yes. And down. And left. And keep going. But I did like this game, you know, because it was...
Yeah, this has got a certain charm to it.
Yeah, and also the tasks are randomized, so you never knew what you were going to get. So even though, you know, I hadn't... oh, actually, up there.
Hang on,
though I hadn't...
Oh, no, there's nothing. There's a puddle.
Just a puddle. Even though I hadn't memorized the map, it didn't matter because sometimes I would just happen upon the person I was after this time, you know?
Still going up?
Yeah, still go up. And right. And this should be where the sheep either are or should be.
I have a sneaking suspicion that the sheep are not supposed to look... I imagine this screen is not supposed... Unless those are supposed to be flowers.
No, I think this is how how it looked. Those are flowers. Yeah, they've used corruption squares as flowers.
It's actually quite impressive.
Unless, maybe I'm wrong and I'm misremembering it, but the sheep certainly... I don't remember them looking any better than that. So I don't know what you're supposed to do about these. I mean, you're rounding them up, but like... Where? Like, have we got to round them all the way back?
Out of the map. And I'm actually doing it. They're
yeah.
They're heading in that kind of direction. These ones are... There we go. It's like trying to get rid of those... getting those seals off on... No, I'm going to rephrase that. It's like getting those seals out into the North Pole in Captain Planet. It's like slightly less tedious.
Okay.
I've never got a seal off in my life.
There's no easy way about it. You're going to have to go around the whole map to get to the post office, so keep heading this way, and you're good. They look more like stag beetles than sheep, didn't they?
They did, yeah. I think next week, our British game should probably be the Amiga version of Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh, why not?
Because I have very fond memories of playing that one as a kid.
Let's do it then, yeah.
And I reckon next week it's time for another Disney game. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, why not?
Ducktales feels like a good one. I suppose I have to go back to the post office.
Yes, it doesn't say anything about going back to see Peter Fogg, so just go up. You never know. That might have been the last quest, and we might end the game. Let's find out.
That'll be our speedrun.
Wouldn't it be great? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll submit that to speedrun.com so they can ignore it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay! Am I going the right way to the post office?
Yes, you are.
Genuinely have no idea. I'm guessing it kind of wraps, kind of coils around on itself.
Sort of, yeah. You're going to go down in a moment.
I've been going down my whole life.
Aw. I've heard that about you.
I'm chasing this alligator.
That's Miss Hubbard on her bike.
Oh, it's an alligator.
What's she gonna say?
Cup of tea, Pat. It's a cup of tea, Pat. You have to destroy, deliver 4 letters.
Oh, look, there's a little countdown. Deliveries 4.
Yeah.
Is that counting down or is that counting up?
It will count down because it was doing it last time when I was doing the paperboy stuff.
Oh, it's just the... Oh, see, I thought that was going to be a counter for the overall number of deliveries. Well, this is no good. You've left the village entirely there, Ben. That's no good.
You were in it? I need an A to Z of Greendale. That's what I need.
Yeah.
Or even an A to Z.
Well, yeah. Okay, so that's got to be the opening to the village, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I can't tell where on the map you are.
It's none of these villages. It's none of these houses.
Go down.
Go down.
Is that where the post office is? To the right?
Yes. Oh, here's one. Here we go. That's one.
Flip.
Now I have to turn around. Can't I just do this?
It's weird, isn't it? You should be able to. I don't know why they didn't put that in. Oh, Mr. PSB is here. Hello, PSB. Yeah, no, that is just something that Ben has opted to do, is to drive round backwards everywhere.
It's fun. Oh, nods. Don't blame me for this, like the developers aren't in some way complicit.
Yes, Tiger Tales, this is a Postman Pat game.
I'm trying to turn around. I'm in an Austin Powers situation. There we go. Go to the post office.
Becky Jewell says, Postman Pat was not renowned for his good driving skills. And Mickey Husky replies, he always made 3-point turns and his engine clunked as he did it.
That's true. That's a fact. I have very few memories of Postman Pat as a kid. I know I must have watched it because I remember the theme, but I couldn't tell you anything that happened. Just that he was a postman and that his name was Pat. I'm vaguely aware of him having a black and white cat and getting up fairly early in the morning. And beyond that, it's lost on me. Another cup of tea.
Not me. I was a big fan of Postman Pat. I remember it quite clearly.
You own an album now in your adulthood. Please take this parcel to George Lancaster.
George Lancaster. Was he another farmer? Probably.
Hey, I'm George Lancaster. I've got one accent.
Okay, let me see. Ted Glenn. George Lancaster. Right, okay. Yes, go up there, then left. And then just keep going left and you'll get to George Lancaster. Nice.
It's like I knew I was drawn to him. Like a moth to a magnet.
Can't remember which one George Lancaster was. So I'm looking him up and yeah, he's on a tractor as well. They're all just farmers around here.
What if George Lancaster is like the big boss of this game and I have to fight him in hand-to-hand combat to beat the game?
Well, surely that's Mrs. Goggins.
Yeah.
You've got to fight her for control of the post office.
I appear to have hit a dead end.
Oh, well, no. Well, that's where George... Oh, my God. Okay, I see what's happened. Let's go all the way around the entire whole map. Okay, drive off to the right. What it is that there's two little dead ends that say George Lancaster in between on the map, and we've got to go to the other end.
Oh, that's fun.
Sorry. So that's round you go.
I imagine we're nearing the end of this particular stream at this point.
Oh, well, I think you've got about 2 minutes left before this game kills you.
Yes. Am I going to keep going? Or
Oh, yeah, down. Sorry.
I'm going to reverse down.
Yeah.
This really is the only way to drive. By which I mean I haven't figured out how to go forwards.
Just do a 3-point turn, Ben. It's very simple. Or just turn round that way. Yeah, there you are.
There we go.
It's realistic driving physics. That's the thing. It's a simulation of being a postman. Okay, down and left. Not only did this anticipate GTA, this anticipated all those, bus driving simulators, things like that.
Desert bus, rather.
I wonder if there is a, Euro postman simulator. I feel like I would probably play it if there was. Okay, left here.
I want a Spectrum port of Desert Bus. That's what I want.
Okay, well, we'll work on that in between episodes then.
All right.
And up there.
And now I'm reversing up again because...
You do what you need to do, that's
life
fine.
is pain. Glancaster. There we go. I hopped the fence.
I just want to acknowledge that... where is it? That Becky Jewell went, leave it with me, and I don't know if that was because I was singing the Leave It With Me song, or if Becky Jewell just independently knows the Leave It With Me song. If it's that Becky Jewell independently knows the Handyman song, then I just need that acknowledged during this stream.
Am I going the right way? I went down.
Tiger Tales Gaming says, I have the soundtrack to the show on vinyl, evidently having missed earlier in the show, where I held up my copy of the show. Here it is. I got it right here. There it is. Look at that. Whoa. Yeah. Yeah, we are pro the Postman Pat album on this show. Is that 3 different people who know? You see what I'm saying? It's a good album.
I don't know. If it feels to me like if it was a really good album, it'd still be in print. Is it on Spotify?
Yeah, it is. And
is it actually on Spotify?
No.
See, what you've done there is you've given me a false sense of hope.
It's on Apple because Giles Martin went in and remixed the whole thing just a few years ago, and that's where you can get it. No, actually, it was available at some point in some odd way. It might have been on iTunes at some point. No, it won't have been. I don't think it was. It was available on CD in China, and I will purchase that when I find a copy of it. Someone. Actually, back in the days when the way that CDs were pirated was that someone would literally rip it to a CD for you. Oh, you're out of time.
I did it. I finished.
I think you got back to the post office and had your cup of tea. I think that counts as a win. Someone doesn't get their parcel today, but who cares?
There we go. That's my name.
Oh, very good.
Bumshank, number 1.
Yeah.
Bumshank asks his Postman Pat. Ted Glenn. Oh, we have fun.
Nice. I like that a lot. I like it a lot. Mickey Husky knows the song. Tiger Tales Gaming had the album. Multiple people know that at least one track off the Postman Pat album, if not multiple ones.
That's impressive. I didn't have that. I think the only kids album I had that I remember having one of the Smurfs albums on a bootleg cassette, and then I remember having the single release of the Power Rangers theme.
Oh, that was a good one.
That was solid.
Yeah. That was really good.
Simon Cowell produced that because of course he did.
Really?
Yeah.
And what what format was that? CD, vinyl?
I had it on CD. I think the only vinyl I owned as a kid was Do They Know It's Christmas?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I had the CD of that single. That had Go Green Ranger as the B-side.
Yeah. It was the single mix, the Go Green Ranger, and there was an extended mix And I think it was a fourth track, but I can't remember what it was.
I'm pretty sure there was an instrumental.
Yeah.
Because I banged that on while playing with our deluxe Megazord. In a performative way for my dad, actually. I was parading it about in front of him, so the toy, you understand. And so I think I was using it as the soundtrack to show him how cool it was that this toy would, transform in such an intricate manner.
It was a very cool toy. I remember I didn't have one, but one of my more well-off neighbors had the Megazord. And yeah, that was one top shelf.
That was one that we saved up for ourselves.
Wow.
I can't remember whether it was just by myself or me and my brother together. Probably both of us. But we saved up for that one, and then it was very difficult to get. You had to go to participating. There was a certain sort of Argos, like Argos Megastore or something like that, that you had to do, and we couldn't find one of those. So it took us a while, but we eventually tracked one down.
Nice. I do remember seeing it in the Argos catalogue a lot.
Oh yeah, you could see it in there, but nobody would. That's the thing; you could never get hold of it from Argos. And then last year, I kind of wish I'd bought this, but last year in the summer we went to TF Nation, the Transformers convention in Birmingham.
Oh, nice.
And they had on display there a modern remake of that toy, and it's exactly the same, precisely the same, transforms the same way. It's absolutely on model to the one in the series. All of that, no catches, except instead of being, let's say, about yay big, it's about, let's say, yay big. It's slightly smaller, and it's actually made of metal, so it's heavy.
Wow. Ooh.
And it's shiny. Yeah, man, it's real good.
I bet that costs an arm and a leg.
It was a bit. It would have been like... I can't remember the price. I can't remember if it was like... I feel like it was maybe 150, 200, something like that. Like, not outside the realms of possibility for that sort of thing. But I wondered about picking it up as a treat to myself, and then I noticed that they also had the Dragon Zord and the Titanus making Ultra Zord, which altogether would have been like 600 quid. So I noped out at that point. But with the intention of perhaps coming back the following year, having saved up. Well, I won't be going back this year because A, it's cancelled, and B, even if it wasn't, still coronavirus anyway.
Yeah, I'm not planning on. I just got an email from. I say an email. It was yesterday. But Gallifrey 1, the big Doctor Who convention that happens here in Los Angeles, just sent an email saying that they don't know whether they'll actually be doing the event next year. They have to plan as if they are doing the event because the contract that they have with the Marriott where they host the hotel states that they can own Marriott would have to be told by by the city you have to cancel this event, and that's February of next year. We might be in a better position. I don't know, but I go to Gallifrey every year. I think I've only missed one in the 13 years I've been living here. Nearly 13. It's going to be 13. We're 1 month away from me having lived in America for 13 years.
Gosh,
it's terrifying. Yeah.
Well, the way I feel about it is that, like, we're going to be sad about those things, but then, like, in another year's time, when there's a vaccine and we're doing stuff again, it'd be like it'll be fine. Like, my approach to this whole thing is that, like, to avoid the stress of having to stay in, is that think of all of the things in the past that you had to agonizingly wait for, and think about how unimportant to you that waiting is now. Like, we'll do this for a while, and we won't like it while we're doing it, and then afterwards it'll have finished, and then we won't care anymore. It'll be fine.
Or, alternatively, we can go out with guns and complain about the fact that we can't go out with our guns.
Oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that instead. Okay, I've changed my stance.
Yeah.
That was a very sensible idea, and I'm now going to do that.
Nothing
because it's
wrong.
Not idiotic.
Nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly sensible. Not at all a flagrant, disregard for the safety of yourself and others. Even without the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's because it is very important, isn't it, to carry a gun, because if you didn't, then you wouldn't feel safe. But no government's going to tell me to wear a mask.
Oh hell no! I want to be able to walk around Walmart with an assault rifle. I want to be able to not have to wear a mask.
I want to be in danger, but capable of murder.
Yeah, I want other people to know that I can defend myself.
Becky Jewell started singing the Ted Glenn song just before I did. This warms. I've got all sorts of cockles coming off me right now, and they're all lovely and warm, toasty warm. These cockles. That all these people, also Worms T17, seem to know it. This is it seems like I'm among company who all know the Postman Pat songs.
Well, that is,
and that's lovely, and
that's delightful. Yeah.
I encourage each and every one of you to come and see me on Twitter at Demon Tomato Dave, and we will talk about the Postman Pat songs, and I'll invite you back to my Discord and have my wicked way. So let's do that. Come see me.
I think that's a very good place to leave it. Dave has just told you where you can find him on the socials media. You can find me at Ben Paddon. Is there anything in particular you want to plug right now on what is actually your YouTube channel? I realize I'm now asking. Do you have anything you'd like to plug on my show on your YouTube channel?
I mean, that's sort of what this is. But all right, I've got a couple of podcasts you should listen to. Did you ever wonder what it was like? You know how like Sonic the Hedgehog exists, and it's this weird miasmic mountain of eras and like different games that are all bad, and like fans who are really weird about different parts of it, and we're all arguing about what kinds of Sonic were good. Well, did you ever wonder what it was like in the very first days when it was brand new and nobody was arguing about it yet because it was just really good and nothing bad had happened in the franchise yet? Well, then you want to listen to the podcast Sonic the Comic, the podcast. It's my podcast. It's about Sonic the Comic, a British comic that came out, which was not just a comic of Sonic like the one they had in America and like the one they now have in America, whose editor was our guest, actually, this week.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, special guest. But because it's our 1-year anniversary episode of both our podcast and the comic, the 1-year issue of that comic. Anyway, so anyway, Sonic the Comic, the podcast. Go and look for that. It's a sort of a time capsule about what it was like to be a kid in 1993 and now 4, because that's how long, that's how much we've done. And also, I have another podcast which is called Serious Disness, which is an animation podcast talking about those weird live-action remakes they keep doing of things, plus, Disney Plus and other ephemera like that. Probably the one of only about 2 podcasts in the world that I'm aware of, one of which Ben has guested on, that is a Disney podcast, but isn't but the Disney they mean isn't the parks, but is the films.
Yeah.
Most of the others are discussions of what restaurants you should eat in, and they're deeply uninteresting.
I've been a guest on a podcast like that, actually, and I won't name the show.
Take it back. They're extremely interesting.
Oh, no, I won't name that show because I don't think it exists anymore, but I did have a lot of fun at the time, and it involved alcohol, so I can't really complain about that. Yeah, I'm around on the internet. I am the GM for a Doctor Who role-playing game podcast called The Game of Rassilon, which you can find at adventuresintimeand.space or thedeath.zone or just thegameofrassilon.com if you're boring. What else do I do? I feel like I do other things. I occasionally do videos for Filmjoy, which you can find at youtube.com/Filmjoy. Filmjoy is most famously the host, the home of Movies with Mikey and Deep Dive, and I will be doing something with the Deep Dive crew very soon that will be dropping on sometime in June. I think we're aiming for early to mid-June, but we haven't formally announced what that is yet. But I'm very excited for people to be able to see it. I had a lot of fun doing it. We've made 4 episodes, and if it does well, we might do more. And I think that is it for me. Twitter and Instagram, at Ben Paddon. Feel free to follow me. You can find out what I'm up to there. I do stand up in the LA area, although not right now, obviously. One day in the future, we'll be allowed to go outside again.
Great. I met Ben via his. My first experience with Ben was his Port Center series, and I deeply recommend you go and watch that if you're interested in the good sort of game videos on YouTube.
Thank you.
They are among the top tier of those, and you should go and see them.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you can get all of that. You can go to youtube.com/filmjoy, or you can just go to portcenter.tv, and that will take you to a playlist of every. I think I've done 61 episodes now. And some of my personal favourites. I did an episode on the Super Nintendo version of SimCity that is actually kind of a love letter to, or kind of an ode to my mother who passed away a couple of years before I made that episode. It's still, I think, the best thing I've ever made. I don't think I'm ever going to top it. Yeah. But enough of this.
I wish, because of how sentimental and personal that was, and how you've just described it as one of the best things you've ever done, I really wish I'd been listening when you said what it was.
Well,
I'll not say it again in case anyone else is in a similar boat.
I was obviously talking about the video where I drink different flavors of Febreze and rate them on a scale of 1 to 5. So that's the video that is sentimental to me, because I just like Febreze so much. No, I did an episode about the Super Nintendo version of SimCity that is kind of also about, the games that my mum used to play, and how, my mother's influence, my mother's game taste kind of influencing my own, that kind of thing. Yeah.
No, it wasn't listening. All right, bye, Ben.
I'm going to press the button. Oh, and you might be interested to know, 0 dropped frames for the entire run.
Ben.
I think that's the first time that's happened. Yeah.